troubling you, Mrs. Page?
I don't know. I feel a little queasy.
It couldn't have anything to do with meeting my relatives, could it?
Well, you do make them sound awfully formidable.
They are formidable. So are you. That's why I think you'll get along just fine. And after all, it's only for a couple of days.
Just a little stage fright, I guess.
Come on, get some sleep. Sleepy?
I'm not used to sitting up in a plane all night.
Well, as soon as we get to Pasadena, you can catch a nap. Only, why don't you wait over there? This will take a few minutes.
Okay, dear.
Don, you're right. Come on. Hey, mister! Hey, taxi!
Well, follow him.
No, darling, it's not so tragic. I'm sure we'll find something in his case that'll tell us where to reach him.
I don't know. I hope so.
What do you mean?
Well, it looked to me as if he took your case on purpose.
On purpose?
I didn't want to say anything. You always say I'm imagining things, but that man's been watching us on the plane ever since we left Chicago.
Oh, now, come on, darling. Look, I'll find him. I haven't got time now. I've got to pick up a car at the rental agency.
An attaché case, a classical ingredient in tales of cloak and dagger. Well, was the young lady correct? Was it switched on purpose? Well, as sure as my name is Boris Karloff, the contents of that case will soon trap these two young people in a web of terror. Alice, the bewildered bride, doesn't yet know that her husband's life will depend upon her silence. She'll become a girl with a secret. That's the name of our story. Our principal players are Miss Faye Vainter, Mr. Paul Hartman, Miss Myrna Fahey, Mr. Rhodes Reason, Miss Cloris Leachman, and Mr. Harry Ellaby. We assure you, my friends, this is a thriller.
Spectacular.
I'm so sleepy, dear.
Okay, the view will keep. Go to sleep, baby.
Wake me when we get close.
I will. perfect.
You didn't even look.
They'd love you without any lipstick.
Tony, I'm still shaking. That horrible man.
Alice, promise me you won't mention it to my family. There's no sense in upsetting them.
I won't.
Well, Mr. Tony.
Hello, Ellen. How are you?
Oh, I've got the lumbago, thank you.
This is my wife, Alice.
Won't you come in, please? Let me take your things. I'll tell Mrs. Redfern you're here.
Thank you.
My dear, we're very happy to see you. Won't you sit down? I know you're both tired and want a rest, but first, let's have a little talk, shall we? Just the four of us. So, Anthony, you're in Chicago to stay, are you?
Yes, that's right. A job, an apartment, and a wife.
Are you a Chicagoan, Alice?
No, I come from Indiana. A small town. But I was working in Chicago.
You seem quite young to be holding a position.
You'd hardly call typing a position.
You live alone in Chicago?
Well, I was going to college there. I was working to help pay for my education. Then I met Tony.
So there went everything. Education, career.
Your parents, they still live in Indiana?
Yes, my dad owns a drugstore, Hanson's drugstore in Boulder Creek.
They're quite well, I trust.
Oh, yes, very well. I'm very happy about my marrying Tony.
Alice,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm very happy that you were the instrument of Tony's salvation. He's a reckless boy, but basically honorable. He should give you no serious worries.
Thank you.
Ellen, will you show Mr. and Mrs. Page their room, please?
Yes, Miss Redfern.
We'll be dining at 7:15.
Tony, I just want you to be proud of me.
I am proud of you. Now, why don't you take a nap? By the time you wake up, I'll be back.
Back? Where are you going?
Well, it's my fault. We forgot to get something for Gran.
I'll go with you.
No, you get your sleep. There's Uncle Greg and Cousin Bee coming up, remember? And, darling, please wear those earrings I gave you tonight, for Gran's sake. almost messed me up with that attaché cased bit.
How's that?
My wife caught you at it. If you hadn't skipped so fast, I'd have had to take it back.
Did you get a chance to study the information?
I don't think I can handle the assignment, Herb.
Why not?
Someone's on to me. There must have been a leak.
There couldn't be.
A car pushed us off the highway on the way over. We were lucky not to be killed.
Couldn't it have been an accident?
It was no accident.
Tony, I must tell you. Tony, you're the only man for this particular job. Now, let me fill you in on the facts. Then you can make up your mind.
Kowalik here. Yes? What? Yes. Left the house. The library. I see. Then to a food shop. Back to the house? Of course. It must have been a contact at the library. My information from Chicago was correct. Get back to me tonight. Stupidity. Unutterable stupidity. You knocked him off the road. Smashed his car. He couldn't possibly have survived.
What's that?
Page. That was a report on our friend, Mr. Page. He got home, paid a visit to the library, then went to some food shop. Does that sound like the activities of a dead man?
I don't know how. I tell you, I can't figure how.
Mr. Corlick, you said make it look like an accident if you'd let me use my gun like I wanted to.
Be quiet, Blucher.
Look, next time I'll make sure.
Don't be more idiotic than you are. Do you think they'll let you get near him again after your blunder? They'll keep him covered around the clock.
Mr. Corlick.
Please be quiet, Blucher. Have to work this out.
Waller, thought I'd scared you off.
You thought I'd taken pity on you. Well, Tony, how's the bridegroom?
Very well, thank you. Mr. Devon, this is my bride, Alice. Walter Devon, one of our good friends.
She's lovely, Tony. But then we expected that. Are you going to be with us long?
A few days. It's our honeymoon, you know. You might call it a tour of inspection, except that we're the ones who are being inspected.
Anthony, that's rude.
Still the black sheep, eh, Tony?
A bit on the gray side these days, I'm afraid.
Shall we have at it?
You two still battling?
Chess isn't a battle, Tony. It's a conversation. Your uncle makes a move, and I refute it. Then he refutes my refutation. It's really quite fascinating.
I can imagine.
It was your move.
Coffee?
Yes.
Beatrice, would you please play something for us?
Will you listen?
Why, of course.
Telephone, Mr. Page. Long distance.
Oh, thanks, Ellen. Just a minute. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Broken in 2 places. Oh, that's bad. Yes, sir. My wife and I will be there tomorrow. Oh, I see. Yes, I understand. You can expect me. Well, that does it.
Something wrong, darling?
Just a messed up honeymoon, that's all. I have to leave in the morning.
Tony, will you please explain what you're talking about?
That was my boss, Mr. Delgado. He broke his leg in 2 places. Seems to think he's marooned at his cabin.
Very unfortunate.
I'll have to fly directly to Minneapolis and then get a boat.
I'll go with you.
I'm sorry, darling, but Mr. Delgado said there isn't room at the cabin.
Well, then, why not leave your Alice in our care?
Oh, thank you very much, but I think it'd be better if I went home and waited for Tony there.
Now, look, darling, I don't want you alone in Chicago. I want to know that you're safe and sound.
Well, then it's settled. You'll stay here with us.
Unless, of course, she might be more comfortable somewhere else.
No, it isn't that at all. Thank you. I'd be very happy to stay.
Good girl.
Come in. Well?
He's flying to Minneapolis in the morning.
Minneapolis? No, Devon. There is nothing in Minneapolis.
But that's what he told his family. His employer had an accident near Minneapolis. He received a telephone call to fly there tomorrow.
It makes no sense. Granted, he is flying somewhere tomorrow, but we have to find out is where.
I can't very well ask him.
Devon, I don't think you realize the importance of your finding out what Page is doing. If he succeeds, our whole operation will go down the drain.
But you may be wrong. He may not be working for them.
In my business, I can't afford to be wrong. I've paid you a great deal of money during the past 6 months to stay close to the family and find out just what Page is doing. I have received very little for my money.
I have told you whatever there was to find out.
Then you'd better find out a little more, Devon, and quickly. You'd better find out where he really is going tomorrow.
I'll do what I can.
You'll find out. Thank you, Mr. Devon.
Darling?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I don't say they're the most entertaining people in the world. After all, you don't have to stay around if you don't want to. You could go over and visit the Rubens. You remember Mal and Sally Rubin?
You're not going to Minneapolis at all, are you? You're going to Mexico City.
Alice,
You were going to Mexico and you weren't even going to tell me. You lied to me, Tony.
Alice, be quiet.
Tony, why didn't you tell me?
Keep your voice down. Now, let's forget it.
I can't forget it, Tony. You've got to explain.
There's nothing to explain now. I was going to Mexico.
Why couldn't you tell me, Tony? Why did you lie? There were other lies, too, Tony. In Chicago. I didn't say anything. Tony, I'm your wife.
Alice.
You're in some terrible trouble, aren't you, Tony? That man in the car yesterday, he tried to kill you, didn't he? He tried to kill me, too, Tony. Don't you think I have a right to know why?
All right, Alice. Since I can't go through with it now anyway, I will explain. My work in the building business, that's not my real job. I mean, I work at it, but it's really a cover for more important work.
Are you a government agent?
I've been doing undercover work for the past 2 years. With our nuclear weapons, espionage goes on constantly. There's a group of people, some in New York, Chicago, Washington, and some right here, who deal in secret information.
Deal in it?
For money, big money. Whatever they can get their hands on, they sell to whatever enemy government will pay for it. I made contact with them in Chicago and pretended to be one of them. I fed them unimportant secrets. Information about supposedly new ideas and missiles, just enough so they trusted me. Now, we were never able to pinpoint the man in charge of the operation. But now we think he's right here in Pasadena.
Why would he be here?
The university. There's a lot of nuclear planning going on here. This Mexican trip, I was picked because I'd already made contact with one of their couriers there. And we figured that through him, I'd have been able to find out who was the #1 man here. Then my job would have been finished.
What do you mean, would have been?
I can't do it now, darling, now that you know.
You think it's very important?
Very, but...
Then you've got to see it through.
I can't. If you were to make one slip, if you were to let anyone know I went to Mexico instead of Minnesota, I'd be dead. And I mean dead.
Tony, I can keep a secret.
It's more than just a secret. It means you'd have to tell lies and keep lying to the family, to everyone, and not break even under the worst kind of pressure. My life would really be in your hands.
Tony, don't you love me enough to trust me?
Of course I do, darling. Even with my life.
Hurry up. I miss your plane.
It won't take more than a few days. Thank you, darling.
Yes?
Don't mind if I clean up a little, do you?
Oh, of course not.
Sure is a good-looking man, your husband.
Thank you.
Just imagine you two only married a few days and him off to Mexico City. Huh?
How did you know my husband was going to Mexico?
You was talking real loud. Couldn't help it here.
Mrs. Peel, my husband's on business. He might make a lot of money. It's important that people think he's going to Minnesota. It's oil wells. I'd appreciate it if you'd not mention my husband's trip to anyone.
Whatever you say, Miss Page. Say, you know you got a lot of pretty jewelry over here? You know, I like jewelry. Gives a person class. These earrings, they go just beautiful on me, don't you think?
Those are...
Just beautiful.
Yes, you're right, they are. Take them.
You mean it?
But I want you to promise me that you won't say anything to anybody about what you've heard.
Oh, I promise. Us users are tight-fisted and tight-lipped. You know that.
Tony get away all right?
Yes.
Sort of mysterious, isn't it?
Mysterious?
He's slipping away like that. Secretly. I think something's going on.
There is something going on. His employer's had an accident.
That isn't what I mean. Tony used to go around with a lot of strange people. No one ever knew what he was doing or where he was. I'm sorry you had to get stuck here with all of us zombies. It was really unforgivable of Tony.
I don't think you're a zombie.
Yes, I am. We all are. How Tony managed to escape it, I don't know.
Have you had your breakfast, Alice?
No,
I'll
but...
see to it.
B, what kind of a man is Mr. Devon?
I don't know.
Alice, will you follow me, please?
Of course.
Those earrings belong to the family. They're priceless heirlooms. Mrs. Peel says you gave them to her. Take them away from her.
Just a moment. They belong to me, you know.
They're family heirlooms.
Yes, but Tony gave them to me.
You're out of your mind.
And Hortense, please. There's nothing to get upset about. Please don't make a fuss.
Fuss?
Would you not mention this to anyone? I have a reason. Please believe me.
What reason could you possibly have? And what does this cleaning woman mean to you? What favor has she done you?
I'm sorry. I can't tell you. You've got to trust me.
Indeed.
Mrs. Peel, how could you?
How could I what?
Wear them in here. You knew what would happen.
Look, I'm a human being. I figure I can wear whatever I want, where I want. She don't scare me, that Hortense, not one little bit. Just because she's got a big house and a big mouth, she...
Mrs. Peel, will you please take off those earrings and give them to me? Thank you.
They was a gift from Miss Alice.
It was very bad taste of you to accept such jewelry from anyone in this house, especially from a very young person. I don't think you need bother to come back here tomorrow. If you'll tell me what's owing you in wages, I'll be glad to see that you receive it. Alice, I'd like to see you in the drawing room.
You see that? You see that? Now I'm out of a job. And for what? A mistake you made. I didn't make it. You did. Well, you just wait till that Duchess finds out a few things about her precious grandson.
Mrs. Peel, you made a promise to me.
Yeah, and you see where it got me, huh?
If you keep quiet, I'll give you $300. It's all I have.
Well...
All right, forget it. Go in and tell them what you know. I'm not going to bargain with you. Go on.
Well, now, hold on, Miss Alice. Us Indiana people, we gotta stick together. $300 will just about tide us over till Carrie gets a job. Carrie, that's my son. He lives with me. I was going to quit this job anyway. It's too rich for my blood.
What's your address?
It's 3112 Kenwood Avenue, 6th floor, apartment 3.
I'll have to cash some traveler's checks. I'll be over to see you just as soon as I can get away.
Please understand, Alice, this is a conversation, not a lecture. Why did you give these earrings to Mrs. Peel?
She admired them. I didn't realize they were so valuable.
The monetary value is the least important consideration. In our family, we cherish tradition, memories.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Redfern.
Sorry, Gregory.
Oh, no, not again.
I'm afraid so. Well, Alice, have you heard anything from Tony?
Just a wire saying he'd arrived safely.
Any idea when he'll be back?
Not yet.
He's a nice boy. I'm glad to see he's settling down.
Don't be too sure.
How's that?
Oh, he's a mystery man, Tony is. So's his wife.
Really?
Oh, yes. She's got a secret. Haven't you, Alice? Secret you paid Mrs. Peel not to tell?
Oh, for heaven's sake, she's in one of her silly moods again.
It's true, though. That's why she gave away that priceless set of earrings. It's a plot.
It was an odd thing to do, Alice.
Afraid you're all talking a bit over my head. What was an odd thing to do?
Alice gave away some of the family jewels to Mrs. Peel. Got her fired, too.
Oh?
My theory is that it's blackmail.
Where are you going, Alice?
Out for some fresh air.
What you really mean is you're going out because you can't stand us.
You're very rude, Cousin Bee, but I suppose that comes naturally to you.
Alice.
You're all rude. What is this, another tradition in this house?
Oh, we've got her where she lives. It is blackmail.
Alice. Let her go, Gregory. This is quite incredible.
Quite incredible indeed.
Well, if you ask me...
No one is asking you anything, Beatrice. You stirred up quite enough trouble as it is.
And you think this secret has something to do with her husband's trip?
It looks that way to me. What could be so important that she'd want to pay off Mrs. Peel?
It is possible she knows where Page is going. Do you have this Mrs. Peel's address?
Yes, I do.
I'll put Blucher on it at once.
Gee, I was beginning to think you wasn't gonna come. Well, you brought it with you.
Yes. What you've just done is blackmail, Mrs. Peel. A crime you could go to jail for. And if you don't keep your side of this bargain, I will see that you go to jail for it.
What are you talking about, blackmail? Sounds like blackmail, what you're saying.
Good night, Mrs. Peel.
Who is it?
I'm a friend of the Redferns. I gotta talk to you.
Just a minute. Well, hold on. What do you want?
Mrs. Peel?
Yeah, what do you want?
I came here because I'm a friend of young Mrs. Page's. The girl's in trouble. I want to help her.
Well, I don't know nothing about that.
You don't have to lie to me. She told me all about it.
Yeah, well, if she told you all about it, why talk to me?
Well, we need your help.
Look, I don't know what you're talking about, mister. There ain't no trouble that I know of, and there ain't gonna be none either, so I'll just say thanks and goodbye. Look, I'm busy.
Oh, you want to play games, huh? Well, we'll play my way. Now, why'd Mrs. Page give you them earrings?
It's none of your business, and you leave me alone.
You better tell me, else I'm gonna have to give you a going over. And I just like to do that. It had something to do with Mr. Page's going away. Didn't it?
You're out of your mind. Now stop her.
Tony has married you and left you here. Won't you tell me what it is?
No, I'm sorry, I can't.
You admit there is something.
Yes, I admit that much.
Very well. I won't press you any further.
May I go now?
Of course, child, of course.
Alice, can I see you in the drawing room? Sit down. Alice, Mrs. Peel is dead.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Her son, Carrie, telephoned me. Now, look, I want the truth. Tell me, what do you know about this?
Why should I know anything about it?
Now, look, no lies now. Hank Bowman of the bank was in touch with me. You cashed $300 in traveler's checks there, didn't you?
Yes.
On Mrs. Peel's body, they found $300. You gave Mrs. Peel that $300, didn't you?
Yes.
Why?
I was responsible for her losing her job. When she needed money to get started someplace else, I felt I should be helpful if I could.
Then you weren't bribing her to keep quiet about something, as Bea suggested? Were you there when Mrs. Peel died?
No.
But you were there sometime.
Yes.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I took a cab to her place. I went upstairs, I gave her the money, and I left. That's all.
Now, listen, Alice, that cab driver who drove you to Mrs. Peel's, if he should start putting all these things together, well, we could all be in serious trouble. He could describe you. He knows what time he drove you there. Can you tell me this? Who knows what time you left? Do you realize what I'm saying? This is a murder case. Alice, did you do it? Did you kill Mrs. Peel?
Do you think that I did?
Never mind what I think. Just answer the question.
No, I didn't kill Mrs. Peel.
Then you can't be any help to the police at all.
I didn't see anybody there but Mrs. Peel.
But the money, the earrings in the first place. Alice, what's behind all this?
I told you.
No, you haven't.
I'm sorry. May I leave?
Hello, Walter. Oh, I'm glad I caught you in. This is great. I'm sorry we're late. Something came up.
Let's talk about it after dinner, shall we?
Talk about what? What's going on? First Alice has secrets, now you two. Everybody has secrets.
Please, Beatrice, this doesn't really concern you.
Then whom does it concern? Alice? Why should you be so concerned about Alice? Always Alice. Ever since she got here, you...
Bea, that'll be enough.
Just a moment, Greg. Alice is my grandson's wife. If this concerns her, I wish to hear it.
We'd rather hope to spare you, Mrs. Redfern. But your Mrs. Peel is dead.
Go on, Walter.
Apparently, she was pushed down a flight of stairs by someone. I think possibly you, Alice, might know who that person is.
Alice, I think you'd better explain.
I've told you all I can. I will not be questioned further. Please excuse me.
You can't just walk out.
Can't I?
If Alice knows anything, she must tell the police.
Must? If I will get you 10, she won't.
Oh, disgrace. Gregory, you have to make Alice tell you what she knows before it gets into the paper.
You'll all be in the papers unless we get the truth.
How do you get the truth out of that girl? I tried.
You're not going to like my proposal, but it's the only way I know to handle this. You're going to send a tray up to Alice, aren't you?
Surely.
I happen to know that Beatrice takes sedatives from time to time and that they're tasteless. Isn't that right, Beatrice? I think it ought to be possible to put enough into her food, oh, no, not enough to harm her in any way, simply to permit me to take her tonight to a friend who I think can be induced to help us. He's, well, a sort of doctor.
You sure it wouldn't harm her?
Of course. My friend would give her a bit of sodium pentothal. She'd wake up feeling fresh and, well, you know, nowadays, secrets are extracted as painlessly as teeth.
B, give me the sedatives. B, come on, I know you've got them. They're in your pocket.
Beatrice, do as you've been told.
But, Mother, it isn't fair. It isn't right. You can't take her mind from her.
The sedatives.
Tony?
Good. Say, tell me about Alice. Is she all right?
Well, that's just it, Tony. No one seems to know where she is. I tried to contact you, but...
But what? Get it out.
She disappeared from your grandmother's house last Thursday around 7:15. Seems she's mixed up in a homicide.
What the devil are you talking about?
Well, the old woman at the house, Mrs. Peel, the cleaning woman.
Yes?
She was killed. The police think that Alice might be a witness.
So where is she?
We just don't know. You better phone the old man.
You phone him. Tell him I've got enough to nail our friend Devon and his boss. But first, I've got to find Alice. Give me the keys to your car. Fran, what's happened here? Where's Alice?
Don't worry, Tony. She kept your secret.
I don't care about that. I just want to know where she is.
They were going to drug her to force her to tell the truth.
They? Who's they?
Walter Devon.
It was his idea, of course.
And Gregory. And the others. I couldn't allow that to happen in my house. I went up to Alice's room to warn her. I gave her some money.
Where is she?
Where they can't find her. In a drugstore in Los Angeles. She worked in her father's drugstore in Indiana. Remember?
Gran, you're wonderful.
No, thanks. I'm just a spoiled, selfish, egocentric old woman. But I know what's right, and I know what's wrong. And what they were planning to do was wrong, Tony.
Do you, know?
Not a thing. Except that Alice has a secret. I was curious, of course. I even questioned her. After she'd given your mother's earrings to Mrs. Peel. But she wouldn't tell. Not me or the others, no matter what they did to her. And, Tony, they did a great deal.
Now, Gran, you're sure that no one else knows where she is?
No one but us.
What's the address of the drugstore?
Tony, this is serious, isn't it?
Yes.
Here he comes.
Take one every 2 hours.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes?
I'm looking for my wife, Alice Page.
We have an Alice Hanson.
That's her. Is she here?
In the stockroom. Alice? Alice?
Tony! Oh, Tony, thank God you're safe.
Are you all right?
Oh, I am now. Tony, I was so worried, not hearing, not knowing what was happening.
It's all over now, darling.
I'm so glad.
Gran told me what happened. I'm proud of you. The way you kept my secret. She said...
Yes, Tony. She kept it too well. Lock it. Too bad you double-crossed Karloff, Tony. Now we're going to have to kill you.
Tell your friend to put the gun away, Devon. You're all finished.
You think so?
I've got enough on Korlich's activities to put you all away.
But if they don't get the report, it won't do them any good, will it? And you haven't had time to turn it in.
You don't know that.
Just stand there quiet, mister.
You just arrived this morning. We figured that you'd go looking for your wife first. Well, if we kill all three of you, nobody will ever know about that report.
They'll know you did this.
No, they won't. It looked like a holdup that went wrong. All right. Take care of the girl first.
I've had this gun in the drawer for 20 years. Never used it before.
Now take it easy, darling. It's all right.
Tony.
Mr. Ziegler, would you do one more favor for me?
Oh, what's that?
Fix my wife a tranquilizer while I call the police.